Oh, hey everybody. I'm just chilling out here right now on a rainy day, and I figured I might as well do story time for you. Anyways, I'll do a story today that was like one of the craziest stories I've ever done. I'll tell you about my trip when I went to the Philippines on my third trip, and how I'm still here is amazing. Okay, it's amazing. I mean, I'm really fortunate that I'm here because of this. I'll tell you the story. I mean, this is embarrassing, so just kind of like know that this isn't going to be anything like self-flattering in the least. Well, I didn't have understanding of the Filipino people when I went there the first time in 1995. And I went back there in 1997, and I went to see the same girl that I went to see on the first trip. And I saved my money and I skipped a year, and then I went back in '98. I went back in '98, I think, whatever it was, in '98, something like that. And I didn't have a girlfriend when I went over there. I didn't have a girlfriend, and I went there. I had scheduled and prepaid for an extension. You can do that. You can prepay it so you can get to stay for 59 days on your passport. But you have to get that extension. You have to pay like 120 bucks for it or something like that. So I did that. So I knew I was going to be there for 6 weeks. So I went, and I had already figured out, and I went back to the same barrio that the girl that I went to see, and evidently she wasn't there. I'm trying to remember the exact thing on it, but she wasn't there. Either she didn't want to go there, or she was working in Manila, with that whole routine or whatever. But regardless, she wasn't there. So, here I am in the Philippines, and I'm going to need a girlfriend, right? So I got the bright idea in her barrio to kind of get snuggly with the neighbors. So the neighbors are obviously, you see, when you go to the Philippines, you like after a while, no matter how dumb you are like me, you'll figure this out. And you'll start to realize it's their father's brother's kid or whatever. They're all interconnected. They're all relatives. Typically, in these regular barrios, maybe not the wealthy barrios, but in the squatter barrios, you can be sure of it. So they're extended families. So oh my God, I realized how bad it was. At that particular time, I realized how bad what I did was. And they really, really kind of gave me the cold shoulder. And they didn't really say get out. They didn't say that. But I made this gigantic error by asking one of her family members to kind of take over for that other girl, which was a big offense in their culture. Well, in any culture, right? So I fucked up. So here I am, and I was there for like a day, or like a day and a half or something, and then on this, I don't know if it was the first night or the second night, I just kind of laid down on this little bamboo bed that they give you, and I can just remember feeling like I knew they didn't want me there, because I was obviously making overtures to this other girl who was already promised to some other guy or whatever. Maybe she was married already, and the guy's out working or in the army or whatever it is, right? I don't know, but I'm sure that was the case. And so I just felt so stupid that I got up at like 3:45 in the morning. I woke up, and I just very quietly took my little backpack, because I didn't have anything. I really didn't have anything there. Or if I did, maybe I had some stuff. Maybe I had like a box of stuff or something like that. But it was only like minor stuff, like clothes or something. And I just took off at 3:45 in the morning. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it was 4:30, but it wasn't any later than that. It was dark, and that was the main road in the Philippines. So I started hiking up to the next town, which was around maybe about 45 miles. No, it wasn't that far. Maybe 40 miles. 38 miles, I think, is about what it was. It was around 55 kilometers, something like that. So it was like maybe like 35 miles, 36 miles. Every bit of that. Every bit of 35 miles. So I started walking at 4:30 in the morning, and I wound up getting all the way up to, I'd say I was around 60% of the way there. I think I walked around 15 miles. Maybe more. Maybe more. Because it was night. It was like maybe like 4:30, 4:45. So I'd walk like 10 miles at like maybe an average of 2 miles an hour, right? So my guess was that I had passed the halfway point, but not by much. So, and then I stopped at one of these little places, and I was able to get like a little, chicken with some soup with it, like little weird little stuff like that. And it wasn't a restaurant; it was somebody's house that they were cooking in the backyard, and had like a little chair there with a bamboo table. I mean, we're talking about as low as you can get. And, so I had a little snack there, and then I kept on. And then finally, I had the idea to get the bus, because the buses will stop for anyone on that main road. They'll stop. If you wave at them, they'll stop. The big public buses. Public buses too, but like the Greyhound, but their version of the Philippine Rabbit, they call it Philippine Rabbit. That's like Greyhound. And they have other ones too. But it's, and they have these mega ultra loud horns. Oh, they're incredibly loud. So anyways, I got on that bus, and I was smart that I did, because at around 5:30 I got in to that big town. It's called Tuguegarao, and I couldn't say it. I could never pronounce it. I said Tugrao, but I finally pronounced it, and that's not even right. But Tuguegarao is about right, and that's the last kind of stop on that big route that goes from Manila. So it's like 420 kilometers north of Manila, which is like 250 miles. So it's pretty far. And it's way, way up in Luzon, past the Sierra Madre Mountains, which is a huge mountain range. Anyway, so I got on the bus, I got into Tuguegarao, and I wanted to get a tattoo. I think that's what I wanted to get, a tattoo. And I just kind of stopped in and I said, where can I get a tattoo? And they said, oh, go over there to Edwin. I think his name was Edwin. So I'm trying to remember what he did, but I forgot which one he did. He did one of these. I don't even remember. I don't know. I don't remember, per se. But he did something or another, and he was the town tattoo artist, right? And he was a young guy, and he was probably like Chinese Filipino would be my guess. And he was like maybe 35 years old, 32 years old, not old, not super young. He's like maybe 30. And the natural thing is, first of all, in Tuguegarao, there's no single American men that are walking around, okay? Like zero. I mean, they're all with a girl that they met, or they're in the Peace Corps, they're Mormons. You'll never see an American guy just walking around going like, hey. So this is really unusual. So I'm sitting there in the chair, and a lot of people are coming around, because this is a big deal to have an American there. And I don't know, he did one of these things, whatever. And I sat down and let him do it, right? And after a while, girls start coming around, and this was no exception. So a couple really cute girls came around, and this one seemed to show some attraction to me. So, and she was really cute. That was, we're gonna have to go into a part 2 of this, because this is giving me a headache already. So anyways, now at that time, I was still young. I think I was around 37. Now, maybe I was a little bit more than that, actually. Maybe, hold on a second, let me see, that was in 98. So, okay, so I was like maybe 38, okay, something like that, 37, 38. I was still in pretty good shape, and I could walk all that distance, so I must have been in good shape, right? I was lucky I didn't get kidnapped, really, when I think about it. So the tattoo artist kind of told me that if I liked that girl, we could get together tomorrow, and we would, he would like go out with me and her as like a liaison. You know what I mean? Because I guess he knew her or something. And I said, all right, that's fine. That's cool. But this girl was young. She was young, and she looked young. And so I know where a lot of you think this is going. It's not exactly going there, but close. And so what happened? Worse in a way. So anyways, so we got done over there, and I said to the guy, I said, look, I'd like to get a girl, right? So he said, well, how about I take you to a place where I know, I forget what they call that. I forget what they call it, but it's like karaoke house or something like that. But they have girls in there, right? Like prostitutes. So, and I never really went to one. I never really did it. Wasn't my thing. But in that particular case, it was weird because I had no companionship at that time. And that little girl, I don't know what her deal was, but that was for tomorrow. I was going to have a date with her tomorrow or something like that. So the guy, I still remember that tattoo artist. His name was Edwin. And he came over, and matter of fact, he signed my arm. He signed my arm. He did this tattoo right here. And I remember he signed his name right here. He put the Filipino flag, and then he signed his name there, right there. So I don't remember when he did it. Anyways, and I love the people. I love the Filipino people. I just fuck with them all the time. I mean, they probably hate me, but like I'm a traitor to the United States, and anybody knows that knows me. Well, when you have a flag of a foreign country on your arm, you're a traitor. There's no doubt about that. So anyways, so that night the guy gets together with me and he goes, all right, just come with me and don't go in, because if you go in, they're gonna charge you more, they're gonna be afraid, and they don't like that. So I'll take care of it for you. So I remember when I did it, I remember it fairly clearly. And it was a little quiet place, and there were a lot of those tricycles there. And then this attractive woman, it wasn't a young girl, it was, I'd say she was probably around 25 or 26 at least. And she came out, with the guy, and she kind of like looked in. oh man. So she kind of looked in, and she was like, okay, he'll do, whatever. You know how it works. So, anyways, I forgot how, but I think she got in, but I don't remember that. I just remember getting to the hotel. And it was very nice. It was very nice, to be honest with you, and it was all done safely. You know what I mean? And as a matter of fact, I almost wound up getting with her, because after we, she and the thing I liked about her was that she was like compassionate, because I fell asleep after round 1, right? And then I went to sleep, and then she woke me up because she had to go at like 3 in the morning. So when she woke me up, then she initiated a second round. So I thought I was very impressed with that. Okay, so I just then I was like so enchanted with her that I said, look, let me give you some money so you can get home, And I went down to the tricycle, outside, and then she got on a tricycle, and it's like one of those movies where you're running with the train, sweetheart, So it was something like that. She started taking off, and then I kept giving her money, And then she goes, and she's smiling, and I said, you're really great. I'm taking out more money and giving her like American money. So, anyways, so that was like it. That was cool, You know what I mean? And then, the next day that guy came over, the tattoo artist, this guy, he came over and he said, oh geez, this is really unbelievable. This story is really unbelievable. And he came over and he says, okay, look, we're going to do your thing. We're gonna get you with that girl. And I said, all right, that sounds good. So I met him, and then sure enough, he had this girl. Okay, he had this girl. Now I already knew the teacher. The teacher was the teacher that lived up the road that had nothing to do with that family. And a matter of fact, they didn't like each other. They knew of her, and that's who told me about her Japanese husband or boyfriend or whatever it was. That first one I went to in 1995. So they knew about her. They didn't like her at all. They didn't like that whole barrio. That whole barrio was her family. But anyways, so they didn't know that I would walk up to Tuegaro. They didn't know that the other family, because I had stopped and tried to get a hold of that teacher. But she was older. She was like 52. And I tried to get a hold of her, but she wasn't in. So that's why I went to my ex's barrio, the one that I met in 95. And then wound up making an offer to her cousin, which didn't go over well. That's why at 4:30 in the morning I took off. I started walking north to Tuegaro. So like about 38 miles. So 35 miles. So like I told you, I got there and I met this tattoo artist, and then we went through the first night where I indulged in female companionship, and then the next day, sure enough, the guy came over and he said, look, I got the girl, and if you want, we can just kind of hang out together, and we'll go out and get a bite to eat, or we'll just kind of walk around the town. And I said, that's great. I said, that's terrific. So I said, well, listen, I've left my things down at that barrio 35 miles from here. And he says, well, what do you want to do? I said, let me go and get my stuff, and then you can help me take it on the bus, and we'll go back up to Tuegaro. I just wanted to, I think my stuff was there. So, and I think I had football stuff. I'm not sure. I don't remember. But I think that was right before I did the football thing. Well, actually, I did a little bit of the football thing, just not a lot. But it wasn't when I had all that big equipment. So I did meet that girl. I met her. And needless to say, she was real attractive because she was young. When I kind of freelanced it up in the Philippines, when I went up there one time by myself without telling anyone I was going, really, I actually wrote a letter to the teacher, but she didn't get it in time. So anyways, I'm at the part now where I'm with this tattoo artist, and the tattoo artist is now got that very attractive little young girl. And so I met him, and he was a really nice guy, believe it or not. The tattoo artist was a really funny guy. He looked Chinese to me. Yeah, he was probably mixed with Chinese, would have been my guess, but he was fairly tall for a Filipino, as I recall. So he might have been like 5'5", something like that, 5'4", which is kind of tall for a Filipino. And so we're out there taking in the sights. And what was going on that I didn't know about was that the teacher who knew me, that I wrote a letter to that she didn't get in time, she found out, somehow somebody told her that I was in that barrio with my ex-girlfriend from 1995, the family that the teacher didn't like. She was a teacher in that main street. And she was really upset. And she found out that they put me out, or what looked like they put me out early in the morning or something. And they didn't understand, probably. I don't know, but I guess they did. But the teacher kind of figured out, like, how did I get up to Tuegaro? Because it's 35 miles. I mean, what did I do? Walk? Which is exactly what I did. So that family was in a lot of trouble because they had a foreigner there that they kind of didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? Because they were mad at me anyway. So it didn't look good though, because now you got a foreigner that's missing and nobody knew where I was. So that was the problem for them. So you see how much problems I made over there? See what I'm talking about? So anyways, what happened was that teacher found out through the grapevine that somehow I had gone north. Somebody saw me walking north. And they said, oh, we saw him. It was this morning. He was walking north. So now that teacher is really worried about me. She's really worried, you know, good reason for that, you know. So now I did not know that she was coming up. And also what happened was when I met that guy and the girl, they were together and we were all together. And then I put my arm around the girl and she was so cute. And I mean, I was all about this. So she was a really, really cute little girl. And I was so afraid of her because like the age was, you know, pretty big difference, that I was just kind of like holding her arm, you know what I mean? Like I put my arm around her, but I wouldn't like really do too much, you know? So, God, it was awful now I think about it. And so we got on the bus and he said, okay, well, we'll go down and we'll pick up your stuff from, you know, that area, Tumawini, that was the name of the town. So we went back, you know, when it was in the afternoon. It was like maybe like 1 o'clock in the afternoon when we got there, maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock. And I went there and they could see I had no difficulty in getting another girl interested in me, you know. So, because the girl was there with the guy, with me. So I picked up the stuff and I guess that's how the teacher found out, because maybe somebody drove up there and said, there's an American guy up there, there's a canoe up there and whatever, right? So we went back up to Tuagarao, all the trio, okay? Me, the girl, and that guy. We get back up there and she said, you want to meet my parents? And I said, okay, I'll, you know, whatever. So now it's starting to get a little later, you know, it's starting to get like a little later. And, you know, I'm up there, like, I forget where it was, but it was the woman had a beauty shop. It was the sister of the mother. And she had a beauty shop over there in Tuagarao. And I didn't know this, but they were mostly Japanese. They were Japanese Filipinos. And if I knew that, I wouldn't have gone with them. Because just based on the experience I have with World War II. And I know what they did to the Filipinos. And the Japanese get a lot of Filipino wives. They get a lot of wife from there, you know. And they take them usually back there, but sometimes the Japanese live there too. It's a lot of them. So, and there's a lot of them that stayed from the war. So the girl was real pretty, real sexy. The sister, it was the older sister, I think, of that girl, but she was much older. Like that girl was, I think she was 18. That girl was 18. And the sister was like 26. She was much older, and she had or maybe 28. She was much older, and she had a beauty shop there. And I had a football. That's what I had. I had a football. That's why I went back and picked up that stuff. And I have like a Nerf football and a little mini football. And, you know, everybody will play with you over there because they love it. You know, you're an American. You're Kano. So I'm sitting there throwing a ball around, and they're kind of scoping me out. You know, not really the girl, but hang on, my camera wants to fall here, I think is what it's doing. So they're sizing me up, you know what I mean? And, you know, finally what happens is we're just kind of at that shop, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, the teacher from Tumawini bursts out of the tricycle, and she says, he's going with me. And like, you know, I'm sitting here throwing the ball around, and, you know, I got the little girl, and the little girl is really, you know, like really interested in me because, you know, they got a fish on the hook. I'm not savvy to this, you know what I mean? And the woman there, the teacher, she was really insistent that I come with her, you know? She was really insistent upon that. And she said, you need to come with me. You need to come with me right now. And I said, but I just met this girl. And then what happened was the sister came over and she like literally slapped that woman right across her face. And then, because they didn't like the fact that she was coming over to take me away. This is a true story. I know a lot of you are going to think that I'm just kind of making it up because I couldn't have money or whatever, but they all think you have money. So they started getting into it, and then that teacher got really mad, and she took off her shoe, and she started to try to hit that. Like, foreign people like to take off their shoes when they get into these fights. So that went on for a couple of minutes, and then she literally grabbed me. She literally grabbed me, and she said, "You keep your mouth shut and just come with me." And I said, "I like that girl, she was been very nice to me." And she was almost ready to hit me, the teacher. So I told the people, I said, "Look," I said, "it's okay." I said, "I know this woman. I know the woman, I said, "It's okay." So she literally took me and stuffed me into a tricycle, which is a small thing. And then she got in there, and they were just like bad words and kicking and all that kind of stuff as we were leaving, right? So we get into the tricycle, and we get to the bus station. And she said, "I want to get you back to our place. And I don't even really want to take a bus. I'd rather, take one of these things, but it's so busy right now I can't find one. So we're going to have to take a chance and take the bus." So we got on the bus, and I went home to Tumawini with that teacher. And I had to leave that little girl there and the tattoo artist there. So they were nice to me, And when we got back, then she sat down and she explained it to me. And she said, "Do you know what you were doing up there?" I said, "Well, the girl's really nice." And she says, "Do you know who that girl is?" And I said, "Who?" She says, "It's the police chief of Tuagarao." And I said, "What?" She says, "Yes, they're going to find you on the bottom of a swamp there. That's what's going to happen to you. Now, you need to keep your mouth shut and don't say anything." Now we get back to the place, okay? And somehow, because I took the tattoo artist down there. And but I didn't take her to the teacher's house. I didn't take her to I took her to the other barrio with the woman that I broke up with in 1997. Now, they knew about that. And we were lucky because they literally hit me. They literally hit me. And the teacher said, "Just let us deal with this. Don't do anything. We'll take care of this. Don't say anything." So now, Filipinos are short people. Not this one. This guy, the police chief up there, he was a big guy. He was probably like 6'2", which is a giant, as Filipino goes. 6'2" is like a giant. He was a big dude, and he wasn't fat. He was a little husky, but he was a big dude. And he came over and he said, "We want to see him." And the woman is saying, "Well, we don't have him here. We don't know what he did. He went to some other place." So I remember the Filipino people, they were really, really worried about me. They were really upset at that time. And then I was actually could see them right at the end. I could see them, and I did hear some English, and part of it was that they wanted to make sure that I wasn't kidnapped by the woman, or at least that's what they were saying. Toward the end, I heard that. And the girl was like in tears. She was like inconsolable. She was just crying and crying. I felt so bad about this. And, after they left, the teacher said, "Not tomorrow, but tonight. As soon as we know that they're out of here, I'm going to get you on that bus, and you got to leave here, and you go somewhere else, and we have to get you there safely." And I said, "Is it really that important?" And then the family came up to me and they said, "That was the police chief, and he's like one of the the biggest bastards here. There's been people that have died because of him, So I listened to the woman for a change, and then she says, I don't have anybody here, So she says, why don't you go to Angeles City? That's the place where all the foreigners go, and there's a lot of foreigners there. So if they come looking for you, they would have a hard time finding you. They're not going to have a hard time finding you in a barrio. You're going to stick out like a sore thumb. So I said, you think it's necessary? And she said, yeah. So I went down there, and that's how I started getting involved down in Angeles City, And they were right. There's all sorts of Americans down there, and it was easier to meet a girl. So I'm trying to remember, and then that's what happened. And I went down there, and then that event ended, and I came this close. The woman told me that I was this close, that if they had me on film, if they were videoing me, and I had made any kind of obscene advance on like rubbing her butt or anything like that, that they would have had ample reason to take me in. Because I don't know the whole thing. But the girl told me she was 18. That's what they said. But that was probably what they call a frame-up. Now you have to understand, the Filipinos reverse their thing. So a frame-up is a frame-up. So I was really, really lucky in a variety of different ways. That's why in the Philippines, you're better off to just go into Angeles City and just, I'm not telling anybody to play with prostitutes, but in some ways it's safer because you just don't get involved with their culture, because you'll lose every time. That's what it seems like. So anyways, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. That's the time that I almost was put with a whole bunch of rocks and rope and thrown to the bottom of a lake by the head of the Tuguegarao police force up in the northern Philippines. Take care. Bye.